The adaptability demon Isagi Yoichi versus the puppeteer Rin Itoshi. These two are very similar in so many ways, from their extremely high soccer IQ and spatial awareness, to their world-class vision and big egos. So, in today's video, we are going to break down each player's stats, abilities, and explore their best feats to determine who comes on top. Before we do, however, if you enjoy this type of videos, please consider subscribing and joining my community Discord server for more amazing Blue Lock theories and reviews. And now, without any further ado, on with the video. Isagi Yoichi, an unassuming character, very modest and humble, often easygoing and timid outside the field. On the pitch, however, the literal definition of a menace, boasting weapons and stats that don't seem that threatening at first sight, but when put in tandem they each fall in their place like jigsaw pieces to result in one of the most dangerous strikers in the U20 category, even rivaling the new Gen 11 and being praised by Noah and Snuffy, the two best players in the world right now. Let's start by talking about Isagi's stats, as I believe they were the biggest limiting factor for him. One look at Isagi at the beginning of the series would reveal how average he was. His jumping ability was mediocre at best, his endurance was laughable, and his muscle mass was on the weaker side. His only saving grace was his above average speed that allowed him to scale the field up and down rather quickly, and his powerful kicking ability when doing a direct shot. Fast forward to now, however, and we can see an Isagi on a whole new level. Due to having one of the highest soccer IQ, Isagi trained like crazy to remove his only limiting factor, that is his physicality. First, we are going to look at his endurance, which was the thing that Isagi worked on the most after the Manshine City game, to enable his body to keep up with the images he visualizes with metavision. And while still not on the level of endurance of beasts like Raichi, Isagi now is able to go a full game with 100% metavision, where in the past going half a game caused him to overheat and eventually lose consciousness. He is reaching a point where he can keep up the new level he achieved throughout the game, but it's not just his endurance. Speed-wise, Isagi is improving rapidly as well. Not only can he keep up with speed demons like Yuki and Kuruna, in the Uber's game we clearly saw how Isagi can slip past Aiku, even while being marked, with his footwork and speed alone, something he couldn't even fathom doing in the past. Obviously, Kuruna played a big role in him improving his speed, and while it's pretty much generic, Isagi is training very hard to max out his speed stats. And it is starting to show, with his insane counters that more than often result in scoring chances. Next, let's talk about his strength and raw power, probably one of his weakest attributes. However, the adaptability demon won't let this stop him. Throughout the NEL, Isagi has been witnessing how world-class players clash and physically engage each other. And even though it was only hinted at, Isagi now utilizes his hands when in physical duels, to first have an edge over his opponents by stopping their charge, and second to gauge the distance and determine how much power he needs. Alright, the final stat I'm going to talk about is his jumping ability, which is the thing Isagi didn't really improve at that much, as it really doesn't fit with his playing style. Although we have seen few times how it caused shortcomings for him, especially against Aiku. But with this we finished talking about Isagi's stats, and it's time for the interesting stuff, his abilities and weapons, because honestly, that's where Isagi shines the most. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Isagi is called the adaptability demon for a reason, as his strong weapon is neither his metavision or direct shot, it is his adaptability. His ability to analyze and to devour allies and enemies alike, to morph and improve with every play he witnesses. This ability to not crumble under pressure, but rather use it as fuel, makes Isagi a very formidable foe. And we have seen throughout Blue Lock how this was what enabled him to keep up with the monsters around him. Like when he sensed the distortion between Rin and Sai and scored the winning goal in the U20 game. Isagi also takes this adaptability a step further, as he designs tactics and patterns that are case specific to whatever situation he finds himself in. This often takes his opponents by surprise and enables him to surpass even the strongest of foes, like we have seen him crush Baro, Kaiser, and even stop Chris Prince's knuckle shot. Also, on the topic of designs, he takes his teammates and opponents' playing style, weapons, and even their motives into consideration, resulting in him becoming the eye of the storm for his team, and often the most dominant player on the field, like we have seen him do in the Ubers and Manshine City game. This ability of his is very similar to Snuffy's tactical play, and it is a great feat for Isagi to be following in the footsteps of the strongest player in the world right now. Obviously Snuffy is on a whole different level, but that's attributed to his experience and takes nothing from Isagi. And impressively enough, as far as the series go, we have yet to see a U20 player with this ability. The only player who comes close is Baro, as we have seen him adapt his plays in the second selection in the U20 game, and finally when he morphed Snuffy's designs to deal with the Metavision users the bastard had. But it remains rare for him and nowhere near the level of adaptability Isagi has shown. Now I chose to talk about his strongest weapon first, as every other weapon he has was a direct result of this remarkable and honestly broken ability. His adaptability is often exemplified by a jigsaw effect, where Isagi falls into pieces, then reconstruct himself having taken the new pieces into consideration. As such, it is mandatory for us to talk about the rest of his abilities in tandem as they complement each other perfectly. First, let's talk about the most impressive piece he found thus far, and then build from there. I'm talking about Metavision, the Big Bang piece that single-handedly forced Isagi to improve his physicality and many of his stats just so he can keep up with the possibilities it opens him to. In essence, Metavision is an eye ability where the player utilizes his peripheral vision to widen his range of perception, and then by moving his head in all directions one can have a full 360 vision all around him, which works really well with his adaptability. As with this piece, Isagi can adapt on the fly to his opponents, which is rather scary. And here the next piece, egocentrism or protagonist feeling, fits perfectly as well. With it, Isagi can even predict the intentions and actions of the players on the field, and then adapt with that in mind, making everyone else very predictable for him, while keeping himself unpredictable and unfathomable. Hell, he even utilized Noah to beat Chris Prince and totally break Manshine. Truly a world-class tactic. But Metavision is still broken as you would think, and very versatile. By just having it, Isagi was able to position himself perfectly on the field, whether on defense by intercepting dangerous passes and deadly shots, or on attack where he can identify the weakest point in the enemy lines and force his way through with the help of another weapon and another piece, which is his off-the-ball movements. Originally owned by Naruhaya, this weapon is perfect for those who aren't good dribblers or not fast enough, where by keeping the defender's line of sight in mind, Isagi moves in a way that throws their center of gravity and allows him to win his one-on-one duels. And when adding Metavision into the mix, Isagi can throw away multiple players away and break through even the strongest defense, which is what we saw him do in the finisher goal of the Ubers game. Now I made it clear that the foundation of Isagi's abilities is his adaptability, then all the other pieces complement each other to result in a menace of a player. But this final piece and weapon wraps things nicely, which is his direct shot, his first weapon and probably the only one that wasn't born out of his adaptability. And while being somewhat of a conditional piece as it requires him to be free, it actually fits perfectly with his arsenal, and he even improved it a little bit by being able to shoot with both legs. And while his lefty shot is 40% of his righty, it is still deadly when he is in the penalty box. Overall, Isagi really came a long way from his humble beginnings to be the fiend that he is right now on the field, and without a doubt a top tier U20 player. But can he beat Rin? Rin Itoshi, the puppeteer, and the younger brother of Sai Itoshi, Japan's poster boy. Ever since his introduction, Rin was that guy. He was him. The guy's existence was basically a flex, being a genius at football, and at the same time he trains like hell and takes it very seriously. Rin boasts one of the best physicalities in the series, a level of skill and technicality that is beyond everyone else, and an incredible shooting ability that is second only to Baro's in Blue Lock. But much like Isagi, looking at his stats and skill set separately doesn't really tell the full story, as Rin also presents one of the highest soccer IQ in the U20 category, which allows him to utilize his rather impressive skill set very effectively to dominate Blue Lock pretty much ever since its inception. A quick look at Rin's physicality reveals that he has one of the highest raw stats, boasting a near-perfect well-rounded physical abilities. Great jumping, great speed, great reflexes, great trapping ability, and insane kicking precision. And much like Isagi, a spatial awareness on a level like none other. Obviously, this physicality is backed up by genetics, as we see Sai boasting similar stat line, but saying this would be taking away a lot from Rin. Unlike other dormant geniuses like Nagi, Rin actually takes his training and meditation very seriously and works tirelessly to hone his skills and stats to their finest. But it's not just his stats, his weapons and ocular abilities are also of the finest in the U20 category. In fact, Rin was the player who introduced the idea of utilizing your eyes on the field beyond just focusing on the ball. either by monitoring other players' vision to predict their movements and outplay them, or even by introducing the two most broken types of vision before they were even established and explained. First, Metavision, which we have seen from him in the U20 game when he wanted to stop Psy. But also the narrative in Blue Lock suggests that Rin has always been using Metavision, albeit a crude and unpolished version of it, as we have seen Rin identify the weakest points in the enemy lines and read his surroundings with near 360-degree grasp. But also when Hiyori commented on how Isagi through Metavision seemed like he was controlling everyone, Isagi thought of how Rin was in the second selection, and how now he understands why he is called the Puppeteer. This, in addition to the grid pattern that appears here, is a clear indication that Rin possesses Metavision, and honestly with his performance in the NEL with 5 goals in 2 games, 3 of which are against Manshine, I find it really hard to believe he hasn't fully achieved Metavision. Speaking of his performance in the NEL, we only have one other player we can compare this to, the King. Baro achieved this feat through an army-like system that feeds him passes, and he works as the finishing blow. This is possible due to him utilizing the second type of visions that we are going to talk about, the Predator Eyes, which are a form of vision meant for pure strikers that ensure their shots get translated into goals, by either hunting the moment the goalkeeper lets his guard down, or in an instant hunting a narrow shot course that otherwise would be impossible. So does Rin have Predator Eyes as well? Well yes, we have seen in chapter 99 how Rin hid his shot behind Otoya to take the goalkeeper by surprise while his vision is obstructed. This is 100% goalkeeper hunting ability, and thus Predator Eyes. And even though we haven't seen him use the goal course hunting ability of Predator Eyes, the fact of the matter remains he has Metavision and Predator Eyes, which is an insane feat honestly. To put this into perspective, we have seen in the Uber's game how by each having only one of these types of vision, Isagi and Baro officially reach the new gen's level. Having either type of vision and the soccer IQ needed to fully utilize them puts you on a really high level. But Rin having both is just broken. We can expect from him a level of performance comparable to that of Kaiser's, the new Gen 11 striker, as he too possesses both ocular abilities. But in fact, we might see more from Rin. And that's due to the last ability we are going to talk about for him, his Berserker form, which is a state where he throws everything away and only relies on himself to slice through the enemy team. His eyes embody this state through a broken spider and his aura turns dark and shadowy. And after some research I have deducted that this Berserker state is Rin's original ego reawakening. As he stated, it felt very familiar with the image of Kid Rin shown, but regardless of what this state means, what it enables him to do is what I want to focus on. While in the Berserker form, Rin became the most dominant player in 1v1 duels in the U20 game, surpassing even Bachira and his brother Sai. In what we call the destructive dribbling, Rin brings the best of his opponents and then completely destroys them. And we've seen that it works on offense when he destroys the U20 defenders one by one, but also in defense when he destroys Sai's elegant dribbling. Overall, being a scoring machine with his Predator Eyes, a masterful puppeteer that controls the whole field with his Metavision, and a 1v1 Emperor with his Berserker form, Rin really proves why he reigns on the throne of Blue Lock, but can he win against the Adaptability Demon who devoured him at the end of the U20 game? For how this matchup will go, I really pulled all the stops and looked at every aspect to really reach a final and satisfactory conclusion. At face value, in a 1v1 situation, Rin stops Isagi in every aspect. From his superior physicality, his shooting versatility, to his overwhelming technicality and dribbling ability, Rin really has an edge. But this is not a fist fight, and stats don't really reflect how dominant a player is on the pitch. Taking Snuffy as a prime example, despite not having the best stats, he stomps every professional player. Even against more physically gifted players like Noah and Prince, Snuffy reigns as the true #1 player in the world. And also in defense of Isagi, he has been pushing his body to his limit lately and improving his physicality to the best it could be. Having said that, it is only fitting to take the fight to a real pitch and evaluate who is the overall best player. With both players possessing Metavision and with their high IQ, I have no doubt they will be the eye of the storm for their respective teams, and the matchup would be a game of who can outwit the other player. We don't know much about Rin's Metavision, but we can bring back the point of when Sai outmeta him in the U20 game. This proved at that time Sai was a step ahead, but on contrast from the feats he has shown, Isagi's Metavision seems to be on par with that of Sai's, as he too was moving with no intervals and with killer movements. Add to that Isagi's egocentrism piece that would even take Rin's motives into consideration, and I honestly believe Isagi can outwit Rin. To fully explore this, I would like to take things to Aiku, as he was the player who completely killed both Rin and Isagi in the U20 game, with neither of them being able to escape him after he activated his metavision in the second half. However, in the Uber's game, after few failed attempts, Isagi adapted and was able to outwit Aiku with his detachment coordination with Hiyori. And I honestly believe if Rin and Isagi are evenly matched with their vision, Isagi will eventually adapt and outwit him. Now, while metavision will be at the center of the war, it is not everything they have. And here we enter the deadly territory of Rin. Back to Aiku. At the end of the U20 game, Rin was about to destroy him completely with his berserker form if it wasn't for Shido. Rin became a totally different person when he incorporated the new form, and thus it is pretty much a guarantee both players will utilize their other weapons beyond the metavision versus metavision battle, and this would be what really determines the winner. First, we have seen how Isagi's off-the-ball movements don't work on Rin, as he always been on top of him, and Isagi needed to adapt to beat Rin when he cornered him. But with Rin's berserker form and his already better stats, I really doubt Isagi can do anything 1v1. If he is cornered by Rin, it's game over. Yet it gets even scarier. How would Isagi deal with Rin on the offense? In the U20 game, it took Aiku and Shido to stop Rin, and not fully stop him at that. All Isagi can do is probably position himself perfectly to counter Rin's dribbling. But with him having metavision as well as a weaker type of egocentrism in his berserker form, it is near impossible to stop him, especially with Isagi's weaker stats. And finally, the Predator Eyes. We have seen throughout the Uber's game, when in range, metavision is almost helpless in stopping Predator Eyes. What Isagi has been doing is intercepting Baro right before he shoots. However, Baro then adapted, and so again with Rin's metavision and berserker eyes, it is easier said than done to stop him. And much like Nagi felt despair in chapter 239, it's looking like Isagi is going to feel the same. With this I would say Isagi has a better chance scoring over Rin than stopping him, while Rin would have a far better chances for both and is overall the better player right now. To finish the video off, I would like to mention that Isagi's sealed ego might reawaken in the PXG game, and he might pull a berserker form of his own, and honestly it might be Isagi's saving grace in his fight with Rin. But with no indication of that happening anytime soon, Rin still got the upper hand and is the overall better player. So that's it for the video guys, I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, thank you for watching.